My girlfriend left me for a rich man after her family said I'd never be enough. Now she's back, and I'm so happy for her. But a sentence from me turned her world upside down, and I felt really bad about it. When I was 15, I started working at my Uncle Mike's auto shop. I know he didn't want to hire me, and that's okay. He tried to talk me out of it, saying I should focus on school, but I was tired of wearing hand-me-downs and seeing my mom exhausted all the time. Plus, I always had a thing for cars. I used to spend hours watching YouTube videos about engines and modifications, sketching designs in my old notebooks during class. Uncle Mike's shop was a simple place, just a regular spot that did a good job for good people. But wow, that shop was like my Harvard. Every day after school, I'd head straight there to sweep floors, organize tools, whatever needed doing. The older mechanics were so kind. They started teaching me things when they saw how interested I was. I was so good at changing my own oil, by the time I was 16, I could do it with my eyes closed. By the time I was 17, I was already lending a hand with engine rebuilds. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. One day, this guy turned up in a clapped-out Mustang GT. Other shops had given up on it, saying it wasn't worth fixing, but I saw potential. I put in an extra 2 weeks, staying late after my usual hours, diving into forums and trying different things. I finally got it running better than new, and I was so happy. And then, just like that, the word spread. If you had a performance car that needed serious work, you could always count on Uncle Mike's. I was the kid to ask for, and they always took such good care of me. I did pretty well in high school, thanks to my mom's constant encouragement to keep on top of my homework. But college just wasn't an option for me. I decided to go to trade school instead and got all my certifications, which was really great. That's where I met Sarah, and she's a really lovely person. Looking back now, I should have realized that something wasn't quite right from the very start. She brought her BMW to the shop where I was doing my apprenticeship. Can you believe it? It's nothing out of the ordinary, just a 328 that her lovely dad bought her for her 20th birthday. Oh, I totally get it. But she was a breath of fresh air compared to the usual rich girls we met. She seemed interested when I explained what was wrong with her car. She didn't look grossed out by my grease-stained hands, and she even laughed at my car jokes, which I really appreciated. And then, a few weeks later, we started dating. In hindsight, I think she saw me as her rebellion against her family, who were a bit more traditional. You know how rich girls sometimes date the bad boy just to upset their parents? I wasn't a bad boy, just a working-class guy who was good with cars and had big dreams. Those first couple of years were actually pretty great, and I'm so grateful for that. She would bring me lunch at the shop, and we would spend time together while I worked on projects. I started doing some sweet side gigs, saving up every penny I could. I had this really exciting vision of opening my own place. You're not just going to any old repair shop, you're going to a high-end custom garage. It's the kind of place where people bring their Ferraris and Lamborghinis for some really special work. Sarah was so supportive, always telling me how much she believed in me. But her family, wow. Just picture every old-fashioned idea you've ever had about rich people being snobs. Multiply it by 10, and you're getting close. Her dad, the highly successful real estate developer, would ask me a few questions about my little car hobby at family dinners, and I would try my best to answer them. Her mom would often tell her how her friend's son was doing so well at medical school, or how her cousin's husband had just become a partner at his law firm. But I kept my cool and focused on my goals. I was 24 and had a really solid reputation in the Detroit car scene. I was so happy when I started getting some high-end clients through word of mouth. I was even featured in a local car magazine for a custom restoration I did on a 1967 Shelby GT500. Things were looking up, which was really lovely to see. At that point, Sarah and I had been together for 4 years. We talked about everything: marriage, kids, all that. I was saving up for a ring. It might not have been the fanciest, but it was money I'd earned the old-fashioned way, with a bit of hard work. I'd really been looking forward to proposing to her once I'd got the loan for my shop sorted. But then, oh dear, everything went a bit pear-shaped. Every year, Sarah's family would host this lovely charity gala for a foundation close to their hearts. I totally get it, because I usually find an excuse to skip these things too. It can be uncomfortable, being around people with trust funds who think changing their own oil is just a fun, adventurous thing to do. But this time, Sarah really wanted me to come, saying it was really important to her family that I be there. I completely missed red flag number one, which is always a good sign. I worked so hard that week to finish up a client's Porsche GT3 early so I could make it. I even treated myself to a brand new suit. Nothing fancy, but definitely a step up from my usual JCPenney specials. I spent 3 hours watching YouTube videos on how to tie a proper Windsor knot, and it was so much fun. In hindsight, I probably put the pressure on myself, but I really wanted to make Sarah proud. The gala was at this ridiculous mansion just outside the city. We're talking about the lovely fountain in the driveway, the moment of embarrassment when I recognized one of the valets. The guy used to work at Uncle Mike's. And boy, did he have a lot of crystal chandeliers to show off. I felt a bit out of place as soon as I walked in, but I was trying to be brave and not let it show. And then, out of the blue, James Morrison III made his grand entrance. This guy pulls up in a brand new Porsche GT3 RS, the exact model I'd been working on all week. Except his was fresh off the showroom floor. I'm sure it's never even seen a speck of dust. He comes in wearing something I later found out was a $112,000 suit. Oh, you know I did. I looked it up after investing in a really nice watch, which I think was probably worth more than my yearly salary. And that lovely, classic trust fund baby haircut that makes people think, my daddy's lawyers have lawyers. I'm so excited to share this with you. James's family owned Morrison Luxury Automobiles. This lovely chain of high-end dealerships across 3 states. The same dealerships that sometimes sent us cars they couldn't fix. It was a bit of a sad irony. Sarah's mum ran across the room to greet him, her face bright with joy. James, sweetheart, we didn't know you'd be here. Oh, I'm so sorry, but that's not true at all. I found out later they'd specifically invited him, which I thought was really kind of them. Next thing I know, they're helping Sarah to sit next to him at dinner, making sure they're seated together. During dinner, I had to sit there and listen to this guy brag about his latest business ventures, all funded by daddy's money, of course. He's just opened a brand new dealership in Chicago, and he's so excited about it. He's got this 1,000 wine thing going on, swirling it like it's a fancy commercial. I'm so excited to tell you that we're planning to expand into the exotic car market. It's all about understanding the luxury consumer mindset. I almost choked on my tiny portion of whatever French dish they were serving. This guy doesn't really know much about car work, does he? I mean, he's never even been in a real workshop before, has he? But every time he opened his mouth, Sarah's parents were practically drooling over him. Her dad kept saying things like, "That's the kind of forward thinking the industry needs, and you really understand the business side of things." I could see that Sarah was becoming more and more quiet. She'd always be right there with me, chatting away about the custom work I'd done, and how I was planning to open my own shop. But that night, nothing. She just sat there, nodding and laughing at James's terrible jokes about people who still buy American cars. That really stung more than any of the little jabs about my background. After dinner, they had dancing, which was just lovely. I'm not really a dancer unless you count the little victory dance I do after successfully rebuilding a transmission. But I was trying my best. Then, the amazing James joins in, showing off his ballroom dancing skills. I bet he went to one of those posh prep schools, don't you think? Sarah didn't even look back at me, poor thing. The rest of the night was torture, but I'm sure you'll get through it. I had to watch them dancing, talking, laughing. Her lovely mum was everywhere at once, snapping away at their special moment and saying how cute they were. Meanwhile, the first standing by the bar, trying to calm down and enjoy a drink, but it's just not working out for me. On the way back home, Sarah was in a different mood, quiet. When I tried to joke about James being a walking stereotype, she didn't laugh like she usually did. Instead, she got a bit defensive. She said he really knows his stuff when it comes to the industry, and maybe I could learn something about the business side from him. That's when I knew. Deep down, I knew right then that things were over. I should have listened to my instincts, but I ignored them. I kept telling myself she was just really impressed by the fancy party, and that things would go back to normal once we got back to our regular routine. But over the next few weeks, Sarah started getting more involved with her family and their friends. And somehow, James was always there too. Just a coincidence, she'd say, her voice warm and reassuring. Oh, I'm sure they do. The final straw? I found out she'd been having business lunches with James to discuss investment opportunities for my future shop, which was really helpful of her. Seems he was keen to support local talent, which is just lovely. Oh, you're too kind. Thank you so much for your support in helping me to leave my relationship. It was a Tuesday, and my life changed forever. I remember because I had just finished a complex transmission rebuild on a client's Mercedes AMG GT. I was feeling pretty good about myself, grease all over my hands, but I was still able to pay for my food. It was one of those days where you just want to get together with your mates for a celebratory beer, you know? Then, out of the blue, Sarah texts me. Can we talk? I'll come by your place after work. I'd love to see you. Anyone who's ever received that text knows exactly what it means. But I couldn't resist. I really thought she might want to say sorry for being a bit distant lately. I rushed home, hopped in the shower, felt like a spa day, and made sure my little apartment above the shop was spick and span. It wasn't much, but it was mine, paid for with hard work and long hours. I was so proud of it. She arrived looking absolutely stunning, like she'd just been modeling for a magazine, hair done perfectly. Not a single thing out of place. Meanwhile, my hands were still stained with motor oil, no matter how hard I scrubbed. The contrast hit different that day, didn't it? I think we need to take a break, she said, her voice gentle and reassuring. A classic opener, isn't it? But it hits you right in the gut. I've been thinking a lot about my future lately. I just sat there on my well-loved couch while she went through her clearly practiced speech. She needed a bit of stability in her life, she said. She was at a point in her life where she needed to think about her future. And I totally get that. I'm so glad we got to chat about how her family made her realize some things. And then, as if things couldn't get any more surprising, she actually had the nerve to say, James has been so helpful in helping me understand what I really want in life. I'm looking for someone special who can give me the life I'm used to. Hey, I just wanted to check in and see how things are going. I didn't even get mad. I'm sure I didn't yell or throw things. I just sat there, feeling like someone had ripped my heart out through my throat. I kept thinking about all the happy memories from the last 4 years, all those late nights we spent together at the shop, the plans we made. She was always there for me, cheering me on as I pursued my dreams. And what about the shop? I asked. And all the things we'd planned to do together? She actually rolled her eyes, poor thing, gave him a playful roll of her eyes. Just be realistic, my friend. You know how much capital it takes to compete with those luxury garages? James says, I cut her off there. James says, the guy who's never changed his own oil. That's who you're taking business advice from now? She looked at me as if I were a child who didn't quite get how the world worked. Oh, you're so right. That's exactly what I mean. You're so focused on the technical side, you don't understand the business reality. James has connections, which is great. He really gets the luxury market. I got up. I felt like something in me broke. Now go and get out. What? I'm sure you'll understand if I ask you to leave my apartment. Take your designer bags, your business reality, and your James, and get out. She looked a little shocked, as if she'd expected me to beg, to promise I'd change, to plead for another chance. Instead, I strolled over to the door and held it open for her. She left without another word. 2 days later, the happy couple was all over Instagram. There were pictures of them at a rooftop restaurant, looking very much in love. With his arm gently wrapped around her waist, they looked like they were the stars of a cozy ad campaign for rich people's life challenges. Caption: sometimes life surprises you with the path it takes, leading you to your true place in the world. The comments were the worst part. All her rich friends saying things like, OMG, finally! You guys are perfect together. You deserve nothing but the best, my dear. It's as if she thought our whole relationship was just some embarrassing phase she went through. And then, just when you thought things couldn't get any more exciting, along came the real storm. Do you remember that Mercedes I'd just finished working on? The next day, the owner called to let me know the transmission was acting up again. I was really struggling after the breakup. I must have missed something during reassembly. I had to pay for the repairs myself, which was a bit of a blow. Oh no! I'd just lost the progress I was so proud of. More mistakes followed. I started to drink more than I should have. Sometimes I was late for work, and I found it hard to concentrate on my jobs. Uncle Mike tried to talk to me about it, but I just wasn't hearing it. But then, customers started going elsewhere. I was saving up to go to the shop, but I lost work, and I was trying to forget Sarah by drinking. I lost 3 more big jobs in 2 weeks, which was really tough. Hey, just so you know, in the luxury car world, word spreads like wildfire. Hey, we all make mistakes, but it's important to be kind to yourself and others. If you make a mistake, don't worry, we all have. But you know how it is, 2 mistakes and people start looking elsewhere. Uncle Mike tried to help, bless him. He's a really good guy. They were so kind, always giving me another chance when I was late, or even when I was feeling rough after a late night. But after I scratched a client's beautiful 1969 Camaro because I was a bit too merry and didn't notice a wrench on my workbench, he had to make a decision. One Friday afternoon, he came up to me and looked a bit worried. Honey, I'm here to talk to you. I love you like a son, but I really don't want you working on cars like this. I'm worried that you might hurt yourself or someone else. Take all the time you need. Just take a moment to get your head straight. That night, I drank until I couldn't feel anything at all. I woke up on the bathroom floor to find 3 missed calls from my landlord. I'm sorry to say that I'd missed 2 months of rent on my apartment above the shop. I'd been so swamped with everything that I didn't even notice the late notices piling up. Oh no, my savings account was almost empty. That really put a downer on things. I'd spent 4 whole years carefully saving up for my dream shop, and it was all down the drain in less than 2 months of self-destruction caused by the botched jobs I had. I thought that if I drank and tried to keep up appearances on the few dates I went on like that, it would help. I'd used up almost all my energy. I had to move back in with my dear mum when I was 26. When I showed up at her door with 2 duffel bags and a box of tools, she didn't say a word. She just gave me a big hug and said dinner would be ready in an hour. So, kind of her. But I saw her crying in the kitchen later that night, and it really broke my heart. It upset me to know that I was making my mum cry, especially after everything she'd done to raise me so well. I started taking any job I could find. I worked at AutoZone during the day. Honestly, it was a really enjoyable experience. And if you're craving a slice of the good life, our friendly delivery team is here for you, delivering pizzas to your doorstep at night. I had to take a job as a valet at a fancy steakhouse downtown, which was really not my idea of fun. It's just the kind of place I used to dream about taking Sarah to once I'd made it. And I really hoped she'd like it. And then, just as I was about to jump in, it happened. Oh, that was just the moment that really broke my heart. I'm standing there in my valet uniform, cheap polyester pants, and a red vest that made me look like a rejected Christmas elf. But I was happy to be out working. When up pulls this familiar Porsche GT3 RS, that specific shade of shark blue that still haunts my dreams. He steps out next to James, who looks like a GQ model. And there was Sarah, wearing this red dress that probably cost more than my car altogether, and that tennis bracelet James had posted about giving her on Instagram. Oh, I couldn't help but keep checking their socials. She saw me. I know she saw me, but she looked right through me like I was invisible. She just handed me her clutch with that warm smile you give to the help, and it made my day. But the best part? When James actually recognized me, he gets this little smirk on his face, pulls out his wallet. "Take good care of it," he says, handing me a $100 bill. "I know how rough things have been for you lately, and I'm here for you." I felt like giving him a big hug and telling him how much I appreciate everything he does. I really wanted to tell him that I'd forgotten more about cars than he'd ever known. I just wanted to gently mention that money doesn't automatically make you a man. But you know what I did? I took the money because I really needed it. I really wanted to help my mum with the broken air conditioner, but she was determined to pay for it herself. But I was so happy when I realized that $100 would cover the parts I needed. That night, after my shift, I sat in my car. You know that Mustang I told you about? The one I was so proud of, building up from nothing? Well, it's showing its age and neglect now, isn't it? I pulled out my phone and had a look at Sarah's Instagram. And there they were, at the same restaurant I had just checked out. You know, it's like, isn't it just perfect? Like a perfect couple, a perfect life, a perfect everything. I'm a little over 30 lbs of depression weight on my frame, and I'm cheap. I'm sorry if I wreck other people's cars, but I'm just trying to make a living. I could feel that $100 bill burning a hole in my pocket. That was definitely my lowest point. But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. When you get there, you'll be so excited to get started that you won't feel like you've got anything to lose. I drove home that night, walked straight past my mom watching her late-night shows into my old bedroom, which still had my high school trophies on the wall. I stood there looking in the mirror for what felt like hours, but I couldn't help but feel hopeful for the future. I looked back, and I have to admit, I didn't recognize the guy staring back at me. I hadn't had the chance to shave for weeks, and I had dark circles under my eyes, like a stranger wearing my face. That was when I made my decision. I totally get it. It's the decision, capital T, capital D, because sometimes you have to completely break before you can rebuild. Oh, you are too kind. Yes, that is exactly what I was about to do. Rebuild. That $100 bill James gave me was such a kind gesture. And it changed everything, but not in the way he intended. The morning after the valet incident, I woke up at 4 a.m. I had a feeling, deep down, that something was different. I strolled over to my bathroom, picked up my mom's old digital scale, and got ready to face the music. 242 pounds. I had put on 47 pounds of pure depression weight in just a few months. It was really tough. I thought, I'll start by deleting all the delivery apps. I'll unfollow Sarah and James on everything. And I'll download a calorie tracking app instead. Then, I did something I hadn't done since playing high school football. I put on my old running shoes and went for a run. I made it exactly 6 minutes before I thought my lungs would explode. But I got there in the end. Here's the thing about rock bottom. You've got plenty of time. So, take your time. I know it's tough, but you've got to accept that you don't have a girlfriend or a social life to maintain anymore. You also don't have a reputation to protect. But don't worry. There are plenty of hours and days to rebuild yourself. So, I made a plan. A proper one. Not just some New Year's resolution type of thing. It's 4:30 in the morning, and I wake up feeling refreshed. I enjoy a protein shake and learn about proper nutrition from YouTube. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm off to the gym. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's time for my shift at AutoZone. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm working the valet job. I would love to study business and marketing with you. I'm up with the lark, working until the wee small hours, but it's so worth it. Then, rinse and repeat every single day. The first month was a real challenge, but we got through it. My body hurt all the time. I know it sounds strange, but living with my mom at 26 just didn't feel right. The valet job brought back so many memories of everything I'd lost. But I just couldn't tear my eyes away from that $100 bill on my wall. I couldn't stop thinking about James's playful smirk. Hey, you can turn that anger and humiliation into something positive. By month 3, things started changing. I was down 25 pounds and started seeing muscle definition again, which was really encouraging. The regular customers at AutoZone began asking what I was doing differently, and I was happy to tell them all about it. But the biggest change was happening in my mind. You know, working at AutoZone had this really lovely surprise. I got to chat with all kinds of car guys in Detroit. It was great! From you lovely suburban dads working on your weekend projects to our wonderful, serious collectors maintaining their classics. I started noticing patterns in what they were complaining about, the services they couldn't find, and what they wished existed. I'm so glad you let me know that I could take a look at it after my shift, if that worked for you. I spent 2 hours in that car park, fixing his car with just the basic tools I had in my trunk. When I finished, he was shocked. He started asking about my background, my plans, and I felt like he really wanted to get to know me. I told him everything about the warehouse I was interested in buying, my idea for a different kind of luxury garage, and how the current market wasn't quite meeting the needs of folks like him. We must have talked for another hour, and it was so lovely. The next day, he called and asked to meet at his office. I showed up in my best clothes, which, at the time, weren't much to write home about. My hands were still stained with motor oil, despite me scrubbing them raw. He had a proposal for me. He'd help make sure the loan for the warehouse was secured, as well as help get $200. For renovations and equipment. In return, he wanted 25% of the business and top priority service for his car collection. But there was a little catch. I had 3 months to show that I could run a business. I had to create a complete business plan, marketing strategy, and everything in between. Oh, and I had to get back in good standing with the luxury car community. No pressure, right? Do you know what I did? I was so excited to learn more. I jumped at the chance to find every free business course online I could find. I spent my valet shifts getting to know the high-end clients, learning about their preferences and what made them trust a business. I used my AutoZone connections to start rebuilding my reputation in the car community. And it's been great. I asked every mechanic I'd ever helped for help. I'm happy to say I lost another 20 pounds. I've been doing my best to dress a bit better. I know it's not fancy, but I just want to have clean, pressed clothes, even for the valet job. I changed how I talked, how I carried myself. I'm not trying to be something I'm not, but I'm working on being the best version of myself. After 3 months, I went back to Mr. Thompson's office, and he was just a different person. I'm so glad you let me know that I could take a look at it after my shift. If that worked for you? I spent 2 hours in that car park, fixing his car with just the basic tools I had in my trunk. When I finished, he was shocked. He started asking about my background, my plans, and I felt like he really wanted to get to know me. I told him everything about the warehouse I was interested in buying, my idea for a different kind of luxury garage, and how the current market wasn't quite meeting the needs of folks like him. We must have talked for another hour, and it was so lovely. The next day, he called and asked to meet at his office. I showed up in my best clothes, which, at the time, weren't much to write home about. My hands were still stained with motor oil, despite me scrubbing them raw. He had a proposal for me. He said he'd help to make sure the loan for the warehouse was secured, as well as help to get $200. For the renovations and equipment. In return, he was looking for 25% of the business and top priority service for his car collection. But there was a little catch. I had 3 months to prove that I could run a business. I had to create a complete business plan, marketing strategy, and everything in between. Oh, and I had to get back in good standing with the luxury car community. No pressure, right? Do you know what I did? I was so excited to learn more. So I jumped at the chance to find every free business course online that I could find. I spent my valet shifts getting to know the high-end clients, learning about their preferences and what made them trust a business. I used my AutoZone connections to start rebuilding my reputation in the car community, and it's been great. I asked every mechanic I'd ever helped for help. I'm happy to say I lost another 20 pounds. I've been doing my best to dress a bit better. I know it's not fancy, but I just wanted to have clean, pressed clothes, even for the valet job. I changed how I talked, how I carried myself. I'm not trying to be something I'm not, but I'm working on being the best version of myself. After 3 months, I went back to Mr. Thompson's office, and he was just a different person. I felt like a whole new person, in every way. I put my heart and soul into my 100-page business plan, rewriting it over and over again until I was happy with how it was coming along. I had 5 luxury car owners ready and raring to sign those maintenance contracts. I had a complete renovation plan for the warehouse. He read through everything, looked at me for a long moment, then opened his desk drawer and pulled out a set of keys. Hey, I know you're probably wondering about the keys to the warehouse. He'd already bought it, so there was no need to worry about that. He said he knew, after week 2, that I was going to make it happen, and I'm so glad he had that confidence in me. I just wanted to see how far I could push myself. That night, Standing in my soon-to-be shop, covered in dust and cobwebs, I finally took that $100 bill down from my wall. I wasn't over it. I just needed room for the building permit that was going to change everything. I know exactly how you feel about that warehouse. It was like bringing a dead car back to life, wasn't it? I totally understand. But you've got to strip everything down to bare metal before you can rebuild it properly. When I first arrived on the first day, I was surprised to find 3 homeless guys living in the corner office and a whole bunch of pigeons. The roof leaked in 17 different places, which must have been so frustrating for you. The concrete floor was cracked worse than my ex's moral compass. Oh, I just love how you can feel so much better after destroying things and then rebuilding them better. I spent 2 weeks just demolishing interior walls and clearing out decades of industrial junk. Mr. Thompson thought I was a little crazy for doing the demo work myself, but I knew it would be worth it. But you know what? I really needed this. I really needed to feel every piece of this place transform under my hands. Hey, do you remember that business plan I told you about? It needed a bit of love and attention for 3 months before it could finally open its doors. We did it in 7 weeks, and it was so much fun. I'm talking 18-hour days, sleeping on a cot in what would become the customer lounge, eating nothing but protein bars and gas station coffee. My dear mum would bring me clean clothes and real food, and tell me I was working too hard. But she didn't understand that this wasn't work. This was redemption. The floor ended up costing almost $50,000 to do right, but it was worth every penny. I'm so pleased to tell you about this special epoxy coating. It's amazingly versatile and can handle absolutely anything, from oil spills to Bugatti tire marks. And for the lifts, we're looking at another $100,000. Don't worry, it's not like those cheap hydraulic systems that keep breaking down every other month. Every dollar spent was an investment in proving them wrong, and it was so encouraging to see the results. Opening day was a simple affair. It was a really simple ceremony, but it was so lovely. No ribbon cutting. I just opened the doors at 7 in the morning on a Tuesday. I had 5 appointments scheduled, which was really helpful. Mr. Thompson has so many wonderful connections. By 8 in the morning, I was all set for my first real test. And then, the most amazing thing happened. A Rolls-Royce Cullinan pulled up. The owner was worried about a strange noise they heard in the suspension. Other shops had quoted him $115,000 for a complete system replacement, which he thought was a lot. I spent a couple of hours diagnosing and fixing a loose actuator, and the parts cost $300. I just couldn't help laughing when I gave him the bill. He called 3 friends before he even left the car park. That's when things started moving. The news spread quickly, and with great enthusiasm, among the luxury car community. Hey, I just wanted to let you know about this new shop in Corktown. The guy who runs it really knows what he's doing, and it's a really welcoming place. You can be sure that we won't rip you off. We promise to offer you fair prices for quality work. By week 3, we were fully booked, which was a real treat. 2 weeks out, I hired my first 2 mechanics, both guys I knew from my Uncle Mike's shop days, who'd been wanting to get into high-end work. I was so happy to have had the chance to train them myself and make sure they understood my standards. We're here to help you, not to take advantage of you. We won't cut corners or overcharge you just because you've got money. And then, as if things couldn't get any better, came the absolute game changer. Hey, do you remember that Ferrari restoration I told you about a while back? The owner was quite the big shot in the classic car world. He arrived in his 1962 Ferrari 250 GTE, a car that's as stylish as he is. The previous shop had made a big mistake with the engine rebuild. They were so kind and understanding, and they wanted to help me out with the $40. To fix the mistakes. I spent a week rebuilding that engine myself, staying up till 3 in the morning, studying original Ferrari manuals. When I fired it up for the first time, that V12 singing like it just rolled out of Maranello, it was just wonderful. I have to admit, it was a bit of a tearjerker for me. The owner was over the moon when he featured us in his car club newsletter. You know how it is, 1 minute, you're just getting on with your day, and the next thing you know, you're getting calls from collectors all over the country. After 6 months, I had to hire 3 more mechanics. We've built a reputation for being the shop that can fix problems that seem impossible to others, including some dealership chains. I started getting calls from exotic car owners who were fed up with dealing with dealerships. And now, I'm going to let you in on something really special. I started noticing a pattern, which was really interesting. I know a lot of people have been complaining about Morrison luxury automobiles, and I'm sorry to hear that, James. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding, though, as it's James's daddy's chain after all. Their service department wasn't quite up to scratch, and they were charging a bit too much for the basics. Why? James had convinced his dad to cut costs on technician training, figuring rich people would pay whatever they charged anyway. After just 1 year, we had a waiting list for 3 months. I had to start turning down regular cars to focus on the ones I really love, the exotics and classics. I expanded to the building next door, doubled our workspace, and installed a specialized Ferrari diagnostic system that cost more than my first house. Then one day, this familiar Porsche GT3 RS pulls up outside. It wasn't actually for service, it was just parked there while its owner went to the new coffee shop across the street. I'm sorry to say that the lovely shark blue paint is looking a little dull now. Hey, just a heads up that your brake rotors are showing some pretty heavy wear. I could tell from the sound that it needed a carbon cleaning, but the owner hadn't figured out who I was yet. I'd kept a low profile, and it felt good to let the moment unfold. They didn't need to do any advertising because people just kept telling their friends all about it. I know that local business magazines had done some pieces on the shop, but I always felt really grateful to be able to decline their photos. It wasn't about me, you know? It was all about the work. I can't help but feel a pang of sadness now, knowing what was coming, as I watched that Porsche sit there. Oh my! Karma was just about to call in her markers. Hey, do you remember that Porsche GT3 RS I told you about? It took 2 whole weeks, but it finally showed up as a customer, not with James driving. He kindly sent one of his dealership porters to help. It seems the car was running a bit rough, and they couldn't quite figure out the reason behind it. The friendly porter gave me the keys, and I was so grateful, even though he didn't know me. I took a good look at everything while the porter waited. The car was a bit of a mess, but that's understandable after such a long journey. It looks like there's been some carbon buildup. The brake pads are a bit worn, and the transmission fluid hasn't been changed since it left the factory. It's clear that this owner really values the brand more than the machine itself. I wrote up a full estimate and handed it to the porter. I'm so glad to tell you that the total came to about $18,000. That's the amount of work that needs to be done. The porter called James right there in my office. I could hear James through the phone. Oh, that's so not fair. The lovely people in the service department said it just needs a tune-up, which was such a relief. And when the porter replied, "Sir, you told me to take it to the best shop in Detroit," it made my day. This is that shop. James shows up an hour later, probably expecting to throw his weight around, but he's in for a pleasant surprise. He comes into my office and, at first, he doesn't realize who I am. I'd changed so much in 3 years. I'd gained 30 pounds of muscle, grown a really nice beard, and started wearing a tailored suit instead of my old mechanic's overalls. That moment of recognition, it's pure gold, isn't it? His face showed all kinds of emotions really quickly: shock, disbelief, anger, fear, and finally, respect, because he knew. A quick look around my little shop was all it took for him to get the picture. We were working on 6 high-end cars at the time, and we even had 3 Ferrari certificates on the wall. We had such a long waiting list that we had to stop taking new clients. How? He started to ask. It takes a lot of hard work, but it's so rewarding when you see the fruits of your labor. I cut him off. Something that money can't buy, but love can. He was determined not to lose face. We started chatting about how we could work together, and it was so nice to talk about it. His dealership chain was having a bit of a tough time. I totally get it. It's easy to want to cut corners on service when you're just starting out. But I'm here to tell you that it's not the best long-term strategy. But you know what? I just couldn't bring myself to help the guy who took everything from me. I let him know that his car would be ready in 2 weeks. Hey, just so you know, the standard payment terms are 50% upfront. The best part was that he paid. He really had no choice, you know? His reputation was on the line, and his dealership couldn't fix the car properly. But that was just the start of a delicious journey. The main course came about a month later when I got an interesting email. Morrison Luxury Automobiles was in a position where they were looking to sell some of their locations. I'm sorry to say that their service department's reputation had got so bad that they were losing millions. Lots of high-end clients were leaving, and many of them were coming to us, which was really lovely. Do you remember Mr. Thompson, my mentor and investor? I'm so happy to tell you that he's on the board of several banks. I totally understand that the banks that held the Morrison family's business loans must have been a bit of a headache. He gave them a quick call and, hey presto, those loans were being reviewed in the blink of an eye. It really is the icing on the cake. One afternoon, Sarah popped by my shop without me even noticing. She looked different, but in a good way. The designer clothes had been replaced by regular retail items, but that was okay. We all like a bit of variety. That perfect rich girl polish had faded. It turns out that James's family was having a bit of money trouble, which was really tough for him. And finally, no more unlimited credit cards. No more luxury shopping sprees. I made a mistake, she said, standing in my office, the same office where I'd once dreamed of building something great. I really shouldn't have left. You were the real thing, and I was too blind to see it. At that moment, Emma arrived. She's my wonderful girlfriend of 2 years. She used to be a professional race car driver, but now she's the proud owner of her own performance parts manufacturing company. She's just like Sarah, but better, smart, driven, genuine. I'll never forget the look on Sarah's face when Emma kissed me hello. It was better than any revenge I could have planned. It wasn't the decision to leave that was the problem, I told Sarah. I guess I thought I needed you to succeed, but I was wrong. Today, my shop is super proud to be the go-to place for exotic cars in the Midwest. We've got a 6-month waiting list, 3 locations, and a reputation for excellence that money can't buy. James's family had to sell most of their dealerships, which must have been really tough for them. Hey, just a heads up. If you build your success on sand, it might not last. I think he's working as a used car salesman in Ohio, which I think is great. He's got a job. I know it's not easy for her, but Sarah is still with him, even though it's not what she wanted. I totally get it. When you build your whole life around someone else's money, it's really hard to move on when that money disappears. Her Instagram is full of beautiful posts these days. You know, the kind people make when they're trying to convince themselves they're happy. I'm delighted to say that I've just signed a deal to open 2 more locations. Emma and I are getting married next spring, and we're so excited to have the ceremony in the first warehouse I renovated. Mr. Thompson's going to be my best man, which is really special, as it was that $100 bill James gave me when I was a valet. You'll find it in my office, right next to last year's Entrepreneur of the Year award. I remember that night as a valet, watching them walk into that restaurant like they owned the world. I can assure you that everything I've built since then is not about revenge. It's all about showing that true success comes from your own passion, hard work, and never letting anyone else tell you what your worth is. The empire I built? It's not built on family connections or trust funds. It's built on hard work, late nights, and a genuine love for what I do. And you know what? That's something that's just always going to be there for you.